No internet, no cell phones, all flights are grounded. Iran this morning is in a complete blackout as the Islamic Supreme Leader signals a crackdown on protesters. Joining us now with more on this ongoing crisis, national security analyst Armen Kurdian. Armen, good morning and thank you for being here.
Morning, Shali.
You know, many Iranians waking up, whether it's here, which we have a very large population who live here and all around the world, very worried about what is happening. They have not been able to contact their family in the past 12 to 20 hours as this blackout is happening. What is happening within that country right now?
This is truly amazing what we're seeing right now. Despite the internet blackout, some information is still leaking out. We still see videos coming out. We've never seen this level of violence where it's just gone from "I want a better life" to death to the Supreme Leader, death to the president. I mean, this is really crazy what we're seeing. It's very dangerous, and the concern is right now for obviously the safety of a lot of the families. I understand it's terrible what's happening, but this is almost unprecedented, this level of uprising we're seeing throughout the entire country, not just in a few areas, including the most conservative areas like this religious city of Qom.
We talked to, at least I have spoken to some of the protesters there in the street, and the backing that they have gotten from the President of the United States has really given them energy. The president spoke yesterday. Take a listen to what he said.
So they played rough, and I said, if they do that, we're going to hit them very hard. Well, we're going to hit them hard. We're ready to do it. If they do that, we're going to hit them hard. And so far, for the most part, there's been some of it, but for the most part, they haven't. There have been people killed. Some of them, the crowds are so big that some of them have had really, like, were stomped on. Literally, it was terrible.
I mean, the videos coming out show something different than people being stomped on. I mean, there's videos of people shot and being killed right there on the streets. Many of them are children, Armen.
Yeah, dozens that we know about, let alone who we don't know about. The leadership in Iran, the religious leaders are saying, hey, you know, you got to stop, we're going to crush you. The president, the elected president, saying, "Hey, please, don't protest anymore." Almost
elected president
of Iran. And now with Trump's comments, very different than what we've seen in the past with American presidents when we've seen unrest in the country. He's very clearly saying, "I will come and I will get you if you shoot the protesters." And this is something that they're worried about because they're concerned he just might do it.
Okay, they have shot the protesters. So how likely is it that the United States will get involved?
The president has shown a proclivity to carry through on his word most of the time, a lot more often than I think we've seen in the past. I would not be surprised to see him do it because no, he'll never do that, but he might actually do it. Having said that, going to the middle of Tehran is a far different situation militarily and logistically than going into Caracas, Venezuela. And I'd like to also add, you know, I don't think the president wants to do military strikes on, say, military bases, that kind of thing, because that just could create a lot of widows, a lot of orphans, or other, you know, pain and discontent, which could actually backfire against the U.S. If he is serious about what he wants to do, then I'm sure he and his cabinet, his national security advisors, are thinking about how do we surgically, specifically take out the very top leadership without creating instability in the country and without creating, you know, a discontent against the United States.
The president mentioned in this interview yesterday, and we've heard him say it a few times, how brave the people of Iran are and they're watching them very closely. We have seen many protests, Armen, over the past 40 years from the people of Iran, calling for regime change, calling for, you know, women life, freedom. What is different this time? Everybody says this is different this time.
Well, they can't buy food. Half of the country lives in poverty. The median age is going down. People don't live to a long life. Right now, I don't even know what the correct exchange rate is between the dollar and the toman. It's tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands by some counts. The government says we're going to give every family $7 a month to help with groceries, and they can't buy food. They can't find jobs. That is what is, I think, most different right now, is the economic hardship that they're living under is so oppressive, so horrible, that they feel at this point they may have nothing to lose.
And many of the videos that we've seen come out for the first time, really, in many of the protests that we've seen, they've been chanting the name of the exiled Crown Prince. The protests that have started in the past 2 days, and it's going to continue again. It'll probably start in about another hour, was a call to action from him asking the people of Iran to come out on the streets. That's what started the big protests yesterday, even though this started about 12, 13 days ago from the spark of the economy. Have we heard this, with his name being chanted before?
Yes, but not in these kinds of numbers. And as time goes on and the history of the Shah's reign disappears from the memories of those who are older as they pass on, and you have a newer, younger generation thinking about freedom, hearing says, hey, the Iranian people are great. You see more and more of that because those who lived under the Shah's regime and didn't like it, that generation is pretty much gone. And now you see these younger folks who are saying, okay, this guy sounds like makes a lot of sense. Don't know if he's going to come back and lead the country. I don't think that's necessarily in the cards. But as a voice of reason, as a voice of spirit, as a voice that enlightens those who are young and disenchanted with his regime, this is a little bit of a bigger dynamic than we have seen in the past.
Islamic regime saying that they're ready to talk to the U.S. if it's on respectable terms. They also said that they are ready for war. Given your expertise and all that you've been around over these years, do you think which way are we headed?
The president doesn't like to use military force, even though we've seen him actually do it. He understands that war and military conflict in that sense is not profitable in the long term for humanity. He is a president of peace. He met with Kim Jong-un in North Korea. He will meet with the Iranian leaders. He'll meet with everybody. He's a businessman. He's very transactional. And if he can come up with a deal to that, Iran will basically back off and then perhaps, start to embrace democracy, which is very unlikely. It is going to be very hard because it is a fanatical regime. It is a religious theocracy that has got its thumb down on its people very much. And to eliminate that power base, it's not just Iran we're talking about. Think of all the proxies of Iran has in the Middle East. All the other countries, terrorist groups, non-governmental organizations that look to Iran for leadership. Even if you maybe necessarily take the religious leadership of Iran away, does it take away Iran's influence on the rest of the world? It is a very complex and very, very deep problem that could be solved. It could eventually get to a military strike. I think we all hope that it doesn't get to that. We want the peace. We don't want people to die.